When you first start the game, most of the nations have a quest, and part of that first quest is to appoint your leaders, and this is very, very important. The people you put here affect basically every aspect of gameplay. There's a tooltip above each position, which tells you what the primary and secondary stats that apply to that position are. And the list sorts by best fruit position by stat. You want to look under talents for other abilities. So this gives all Chancellor spot things a 20% bonus on top of their stats. Having people with these talents appointed makes a huge difference in comparison. So the second on this list, it's also a Chancellor. This guy is not a Chancellor. His stats are very close. Actually, they're better. 27, 27, 16. Somebody with a Chancellor bonus, 29, 29, 17. So unless you have excellent gear, the people with these passive bonuses are who you want to put in these slots. Now, some of these are not very well, so we'll go through this list. The Chancellor, investment and effect affects how you invest in cities. That one's translated fine. Persuasion, when you capture an enemy by either defeating a nation or getting them in combat, you can mess with this captive sub-menu, and you can persuade them or interrogate them, and that's what that persuasion chance applies to. City sentiment is directly involved in your economy. The person you appoint to the Chancellor position has an effect on what happiness gain or loss occurs during the turn, and as they go up in stats, it's drastic. So having a good Chancellor allows you to keep your people happy and get money in your bank. For Marshal, training effect applies to drill. It's one of the things that has different translations that are moderately inconsistent. Drilling your troops trains them up. You'll see training effect in the skill tree as well, instead of drill, even though drill is the command you do to train. Construction effect is another poorly translated one. Construction, city defense, and fortify. The construction effect affects the fortify action, which increases your city defense. So a strong marshal lets you train troops faster, build your defenses up, and then after each round of combat you get a little bit of your army regenerated. The diplomat covers everything that happens in the diplomat button. That's a good note because the other ones are all over the place. So lobbying, negotiation, and sabotage is one of the ones that's poorly translated. The action is sabotage. On the appointment tree it's called destruction, and on the skill tree the bonuses are called destruction. This is probably the most important one, your sabotage/destruction rate, because this is the action that allows you to actually continue progressing the game. Now your treasurer adjusts the city income, which is different than the tax rate you can get out of sentiment. So your income is controlled by your chancellor, your treasurer, and potentially a little bit from your diplomat, because she can give you trade treaties. So far I have not seen trade treaties be that effective, but they do get you a couple thousand a turn. Your city income, you can hover over a city and see its prosperity and its income level. And then on your finance tree, you can see your total income. Your costs are subtracted from your income to get your monthly income. So income, solid. Store expenses. Occasionally there are really good items in the store. There aren't here. They can cost 30 grand or more, and early on that's half of your starting funds. So any kind of discount on that is enormous, but even discounts on the smaller stuff when you're starting off is pretty good. Keeps you from overspending. And then operational costs. That one is a little finicky. So sometimes it's called operations, and there are passives that reduce the gold cost of them on some characters. But what that refers to is investment, fortification, searching, exploring, celebrating. Anything you do with a hero costs you money. So basically anything on this tree and exploration. If I assign a hero to this, it costs 500. There are a couple of passives. There's a 30%, a 50%, and a one-off 80% on the leader of one of the nations that reduce actions on top of what the appointment slot does. So early on, especially when your money is important before you start getting your income up, using heroes that reduce the gold cost and having a good treasurer can make things a lot easier on you money-wise. There's a button up here that shows you your list of heroes, and you can sort them by their highest stats, and then examine them in more detail. There's a lot of UIs to mess with here. The secondary part of your heroes is your barracks. You want your military-focused heroes to be in your barracks so you can fight with them. You have 3 equipment slots, which increase your stats and give various other bonuses if they're rare enough. You can see the talents down here and their active skills. And then under command, it shows you what types of troops they can lead and how good they are at leading them. This bonus down here is always the same, but you can tell if a hero is more politics focused, i.e. for appointments or doing operations with, or if they're more combat focused by their talents. And there's some hybrid heroes that are pretty decent at both. But when you have a bunch of strong military heroes, you want to use them in your military and use the others for search operations and stuff. So this is very clearly a combat-focused hero. Not only does he get a large bonus to 3 different troop types, but it increases the attack speed of all the troops he has, the attack of all the troops that he has, and the defense of all the troops that he has, as well as having attack abilities. And this is a very clearly hybrid unit. His first 2 abilities are political. Increases the effectiveness of training by 60%, and it decreases the gold cost of actions by 50%. So he can train units, and he's decent in combat because he has an S rank bonus on top of another combat bonus. And he assassinates enemy heroes. Strong unit, good all-rounder. You want to keep an eye on this stuff and your number of heroes total. You want to keep good heroes. Because the more heroes you have, the more expensive every single thing that you do is. So this is a generic hero. We don't need him around. He's costing us a great deal of money. He's a bad combat leader with bad generic skills and low stats. Your finance tree, you can see the amount your heroes are costing you per turn. And if you look at the little bobble here on upkeep factor, that factor is a little bit weird. It's displayed differently here and on the barracks menu, but this drastically increases the cost of everything. So that math does make sense if you look at it long enough, but this basically I'm spending 420% additional money. Everything that I spend is multiplied by 4.16. But it looks a little bit weird if you have a low upkeep factor, because it's like, it reads as 0.06, but what it actually is 1.06. It's a 6% increase in all spending. So with 36 heroes, that everything we spend is enormously worse. Now you can get rid of heroes and take all their stuff back by unequipping using that little red X and exiling them. We must have done actions this turn. We'll go to the next turn. You can't exile or put people in the barracks or appoint them if they've already performed a different action. He's not here. What are you doing? There's no way he's in the barracks, is he? There's a generic in the barracks. Well. See, that is a mistake that you don't want to do. So you go to govern, exile, find the hero that is taking money from you, and then get rid of them. You can also execute heroes you don't have if you have them as prisoners, and refuse them if you acquire them on a search mission. Now that we've gotten rid of that hero, our upkeep factor dropped by a fairly significant amount. We had a roughly 20,000 income, and getting rid of that one hero brought it up 40,000 by itself. So you want to make sure you don't have duplicate spots, like this person is basically just a diplomat. They're a strong diplomat, but we already found a much better one. So we have a duplicate hero costing us money, and we can clear this field up a little bit. And you can sort of figure out which ones you want to keep by their base stats if you take their equipment off, or by their talent tree. Let's just remove everything from everyone. So Kate actually has higher base stats, but her diplomat bonus is only 40%. And the diplomat bonus is enormous. She's a effective saboteur as well. It actually... well, let's look real quick. Charisma and Wisdom are the stats we want. Charisma and Wisdom. That makes Kate actually superior stat-wise, but this 20% means a great deal. 36, 26, 20. Oh, wait. Some tutorial, right? Stats matter a lot too, but the base bonus is huge. They're essentially identical because the other hero, her bonus is higher. So they're essentially identical, but Kate is actually better in position because she has much higher stats. She's also only one level away, so Kate is the one that should be in that position. Even though Krishna has a better talent tree. So these are things you want to keep an eye on. And whenever you juggle things around, make sure you have the one that gives you the highest numbers in the position. 45, 33, 26. So with the gear on, Krishna's outperforming because she has 20% additional bonus to this after the gear stats are applied. Like that was real mealy-mouthed and confusing, but it probably got the point across. As heroes, look at talent trees, whether they're combat-focused or political. Whatever gear you can have, use your best in slot for appointments. Now for the barracks, this also affects your economy. Your barracks upkeep can be enormous near the end, and it costs exponentially more to expand as you go along. I believe the first one costs 500, something along those lines. Barracks cost is here. And the cost of what your troops are is based on the type of unit you have equipped. It doesn't really say anywhere. Okay, it does. Upkeep 450 for tier 6. And this increases by, I believe, the level they are. We can test that real quick. Your starting units are fairly cheap. You may not even notice your barracks cost for a while. But there's a reason they're starting units. You want to upgrade to units you can actually fight battles and win with at some point. And higher level and higher ranked the unit, the more that they cost for upkeep. And this number is then multiplied by a different upkeep factor. The more slots that are filled, the higher that factor is. But as you have more spots you need to defend, and more things you need to attack, and more fortifications to break, you'll need more barrack slots to succeed. So you want to keep an eye on who's out here, and because these slots are limited and very expensive, you want to make sure you have your best units in position. S Commander, different attack abilities. When you have... This is the end game, but as you go through and you're looking at your generics and things like that, these are all things you want to keep an eye on. You have your general commanders, and then you have very specific commanders. An SS rank for mages. If you want to use mages, use him in the barracks. Good combat abilities. You want to keep an eye on these things. So he is a hybrid. A lot of the mages are weirdly hybrid. And there's some generics that have strange things going on here. There are rangers that have bonus for mage troops, and mages that have bonus for ranger troops. You can see the class of the hero. The class doesn't necessarily match with the troops that they lead, so that's something to keep an eye on. The barracks will automatically select an appropriate unit for them to lead, but it will always be the highest ranked one. And that may not always be what you want. If you've only just recently acquired a new unit, their level may be lower. Which is not the case here at all, but you want to use... say you have a level 4 basic archer, and you just got your level 1 tier 2 archer. You probably want to keep your level 4 basic archer until the tier 2 has leveled up a little bit. That's what I was trying to say. And then you'll swap them. But you want to make sure before you ridiculously increase your expenses that the troops that you're fielding are actually worth using and much better than the ones you're replacing them with. Because that upkeep cost can go through the roof. Okay. Still going with heroes. The talent bonuses they receive, other than this one, anything that increases persuasion or lobby, seems to be directly connected to the appointment rate in some fashion. But all of the other ones that affected, also cost reduction. Those two, negotiation talents and gold cost reduction talents, are fairly direct. They affect the output cost and the success rate in a way that makes sense. These abilities, anything that increases investment or fortification, are less visible. So this number applies before you perform the action. Let's unequip everybody. This is a fortification action. I have to have a fortified hero, don't I? I don't have any fortification heroes. Let's look at investment then. It's the same issue with either. Oh, everything's maxed on this save. Let's load a different save then. Heroes are all busy. Heroes are all busy. Fair. Okay. I must not keep track of the fortification heroes. So this talent tree applies before this number becomes visible. This number already has that percentage on it. So you want to keep an eye on talents like that because they aren't always useful. Like this guy, he's got shit stats. So a 50% increase on nothing is still nothing. This one's barely even noticeable. But investment and construction are ones where stats play a much heavier role than the talents. The talents can be useful if they also have really good stats, as you can see. These are sort of a cherry on top and not something you want to force apply to people. I believe drilling has the same type of build on it. So let's see. Yeah, these numbers are applied to here and not post-fact. The way I was reading that occurring, and we can see it's increasing by 1995 if we do this, right? But the way those skills read is it increases the effectiveness of the order, which is a math that would apply now as the turns rolling by. And that is not the case. It's just a straight up front adjustment of their numbers. 1995. So the effectiveness of the drill order was not increased, which is what the wording says. What happened was that this guy's output increased. Badly worded, still a good bonus. And that's what I was trying to say with all of this. The investment, fortification, and training bonuses are more influenced by stats than the talent trees. Every nation has its own skill tree, and it might help if we go to the title to show that. Some of the skills are universal on them, but some focus a nation in specific ways. I believe her tree. So this nation, you can see strict army upkeep decrease. This will barely keep taxes in line. And they have actually only a very slight sabotage. As I said before, destruction and sabotage mean the same thing. So this increases sabotage success rate and sabotage effect. I believe this line is unique to this country, and it makes them effective at breaking down walls so that your armies can win victories. And this might be unique to them too. After every fight, they get more goodies. But this destruction success rate is actually not that good in their tree. That's a total of 18. For 10 skill points. And the generic one you'll see in other trees. Not all trees, but a good deal of them. He has one. It's 15%. This is 15 for 6 points total. They have 18 for 10. So you want to keep an eye on what you want out of your country and what you're actually getting. Because her tree has 4 skills, and you think, oh, 4 skills, that must mean a lot. But this tree is actually better cost-wise. You can get it earlier for less points with more of an effect. And let's just look at somebody. Take the same one again. This is a tree I haven't seen before. Decent but underwhelming stats. Charm specifically, so that affects 2 of the appointments specifically and a couple of actions. And as long as you are aware of what those are, you can use that to your advantage. Here's a thing. Intelligence and wisdom is another weird translation. When it says intelligence in the skill tree, it means wisdom. It's a decent amount of wisdom increase. They are good at training troops. A total of 15 sabotage success and a little bit of destruction effect increase. So again, this is split into 3 skills. The cost of 9 for 15%. So if you're not reading, it probably looks better than it is. In your skill tree, you'll also see what kind of troops you're going to have. And you can compare that to your starting heroes to see if you'll have a strong army to start with. I wouldn't call this